put the food in there. You going, Jenny? Oh, we miss you. Where you going, Jenny? We'll put the food in there, folks, Thursday night, all day Friday night. And didn't feed them anything else. And Saturday, the cat trap was empty. We can't catch them. They must be getting food from somewhere else. What am I going to do? How am I going to save those 2 cats? Because pretty soon evil people will come and shoot them or do something to them. And those are Penny's 2 babies. That would be Oscar 3, a black one, and Penny 3, a black and white one. Anyway, that was a wonderful party. The food was terrific. All of the food was homemade and brought by the members. It was excellent. And the companionship was excellent. And the fellowship. Rick Einhorn was there. Rick Fenton was there. Carl Ancesera, Harvey Cash, Bob Goldberg, a man from New Jersey, a lawyer from Riverhead named Miller. Tom Hilgartner was there. I was glad to see that. He's Harvey Cash's lawyer, who did a good job defending Harvey and got rid of the case that the Suffolk County Bar Association brought against Harvey. Julia Gambino was there, and her daughter was there, who has very pretty blue eyes. And she watches the show a lot and talks about the show a lot. Many of the people do. The show is highly watched, although we didn't get only but 16 telephone calls Friday night, December the 20th. That's a big come down from 44 the week before and from 29 on so many other weeks. You'd think more people would call up and complain, wouldn't you? Anyway, it was one wonderful party. Franklin estimated 80 people were there. It was at the Old Beach Inn. Nice place to have a party. And those of you who were there, I know you were glad you came. I'm glad you came. And those of you who weren't there, you should have come. And I told you about it. But I'll tell you about the next one. We are reporting on the law-breaking of Cablevision, Charles Dolan, John Tata, William Quinn, and others. Not only their law-breaking, but they're lying and covering up about it for 3 years. The lawsuit was filed 3 years ago. Big news on that is lawsuit number 6. Let's see, lawsuit number 1 was when I hired Cablevision Harrison to produce a television commercial for me, and they erased another television commercial. And even though it was a lot of labor, I just charged them $200 and they wouldn't pay it. And I took them to the small claims court in Harrison, and I won the case. And they were ordered to pay me $200 plus the disbursements. It came out to $238. And Cablevision, in his great and wonderful wisdom, went ahead and appealed $200. The minutes alone would cost them $300. Well, finally, Bob Case came into Yonkers and took care of that matter and got rid of the crooked people who were stealing from Cablevision. And I'm a shareholder, so I'm concerned about that. And then the second one was December 6, 1993, 3 years ago, when they took my program off of TV because I was reporting the truth about the politicians in Nassau County, namely the Department of Consumer Affairs and also the Sheriff's Department. Then lawsuit number 3 was in state court, Glendora versus Cofault, Cablevision, Dolan, Tata, and Quinn, because they broke the state law that says that cable operator can't exercise editorial control over public usage channel. And lawsuit number 5 was in the Yonkers Small Claims Court when Judge Bryant illegally stayed the trial of, I was bringing all these lawbreakers to trial, Dolan, Tata, and Quinn. Somehow or other, Judge Bryant stayed the trial, and the subpoena money that Franklin had given 5 Cablevision people, $70 each, $350 total, when the trial was stayed, instead of returning the money as you would have done or any discreet person would have done, they kept the money. So now I'm on Cablevision lawsuit number 6. That's going to be filed in Hauppauge on Tuesday, tomorrow, which will be the day before Christmas, Christmas Eve. And that is a lawsuit against Cablevision, its board of directors, its management, and against the company, and against, of course, its CEO, James Dolan, and its chairman, Charles Dolan. And that lawsuit is a violation of the New York State Business Corporation Law on several counts. They would not show me the records that I'm entitled to see as a shareholder. They refused to do it around about 5 times. They won't show me the shareholder's book, and they won't give me the minutes of the meetings, both the board of directors and what else, and other things. Now, that's number 6, wasn't it? Okay, number 7, of course, will be the censoring of a chat with Glendora when I was reporting to you about how they ran off with the $350 instead of returning it. Something went through my mind to tell you, and that's the way with thoughts. I believe thoughts are electromagnetic radiation with the highest frequency we have and the shortest wavelength, and they go through and they just don't come back. I've lost Tom Garger. I like Tom Garger a lot. He's no longer at 111 New South Road, Hicksville. He's gone over to Woodbury around the Meteor Crossways, all those west, east, north, south. There's so many of them. He's over in one of those buildings because he's working on extra help. And this is a national distribution program, and it's not local public access anymore. And speaking of CEOs, chief executive officers, Harry is a great CEO. He has taken our company from obscurity to anonymity. And Alice said, did the boss give you a piece of his mind? And Joanne says, yes, he did. And that's amazing when you consider how low the inventory is. And Paul says, I love the way the boss conducts a meeting. He says he presents his ideas and his proposals, and he says, all in favor say aye, all opposed say bye. The current Cablevision file is volume 46. It started in April of '96. I was hoping to get another week in here. Do you think I can? And finish out the year 1996. No time at all to file, paginate, log, and mail Cablevision, not only for 1 week, but for 2 weeks. So I'll have to give you this, these statistics and extrapolate figures, folks. As I say, extrapolated about $8,050 they have cost in printing, postage, rip-off court stenographer fees, and court fees. They're law-breaking, lying, and covering up. Approximately, just call it $8,000. They have cost us approximately 3,800 hours of our lives. You multiply each hour by $250 per hour, which is what the lawyer monopoly antitrust gets. That comes out to $950,000 worth of legal papers. That's very, very close. $50,000 away from $1 million. They are up to 47 volumes of bad record and traitorship to America, traitorship to free speech, the Constitution, and the congressional statutes. They are up to 15,000 pages of bad record, law-breaking, lying, and covering up. I think this is something like the 307th television program, half an hour reporting on their law-breaking, lying, and covering up for 3 years of betraying their country. And it's up to something like 340 mailings. Inform a pauperous, if you don't have a bank account, if you don't have any income, if you don't have any job, and then you don't have to pay the fees in the United States courts. To file an action in the United States court is $120. To file an appeal is $105. Even at that is not as erratic and outrageous as the state court, the New York state courts. A notice from the pro se clerk saying Glendora versus Cablevision Systems Incorporated, 93 Civ, 8344 Charles L. Bryant. Please be advised that this office received your notice of appeal on November 20th, 96. Your request to proceed on appeal in forma pauperis in the above entitled action has been granted by the Honorable Charles L. Bryant. I'm not too sure how honorable he is. And that was on 12/2, 1996. A copy of that memo endorsement is enclosed. So that appeal is in process. And what is that about? That's about the fact that Judge Bryant on February 28th canceled my trial for very suspicious reasons and sent me over to state court for very suspicious reasons. And state court didn't rule exactly the way he wanted them to rule, so Bryant hasn't been able to get rid of me yet in my trial. So he told me that if I didn't appeal the Silverman decision of October 2nd, 1996, that my trial would be lost. I had no choice but to appeal. He forced me to appeal, and I hate the appellate division. It's the worst court that we have, and certainly the most crooked court that we have. And that's saying a lot, because we have crooked courts. So I appeal Bryant's decision, forcing me to appeal to the appellate division. And what did Silverman say? It was a wacky thing. He reversed himself from 2 years ago and said that he didn't have jurisdiction over the law, that it had to be decided by the Public Service Commission. It's nothing but a cop-out and a lie and a disgrace, a public disgrace to America. Here we have a notice of motion to enlarge, or to enforce rather, excuse me, a notice of motion to enforce Judge Bryant's order that Glendora not be charged for the October 26, 1995 minutes, and that Attorney Callaghy pay Glendora $120 for the Garger tape. And this was, a notice of motion was, the return date on it was December 20th, which was Friday. And we haven't heard from Callaghy, and we haven't heard from Bryant. So I guess the next step on that, if we don't hear from Callaghy today, is to write Judge Bryant and say, since Mr. Callaghy has defaulted and has not answered the motion, then the money is mine. Put him in jail, make him pay the $120. This is for the audio tape that you told him to pay for 5 times, and this is the 6th time. That was a queer order, too. That order was made way a year ago on December the 11th, 1995. This is December the 23rd, 1996, Monday, and we never found that order. Nobody ever sent us a copy of it, or if they did, we never received it. I think that's pretty queer, too. Queer being spelled C-R-O-O-K-E-D. This I take exception to. When Judge Bryant granted the informa pauperis, he says leave to appeal informa pauperis is granted, although the appeal has no merit. Well, what has no merit is Bryant's decisions. If Justice Silverman is affirmed in pending state appeal, then this case may be resolved, meaning that the case is out. You see, I won the case. I won it in Silverman, and then I won it in Bryant. And then Bryant gets in a tiff because I won't take his guff, and I won't take his insults, so he gets a tiff, and then he tries to go back and undo all the victories that I had. Great, great people we have as judges. Folks, what do you call a lawyer with an IQ of 50? Your Honor. Now, what is this? Oh, yeah, here's my paste-up copy of my complaint. I wanted to show you my complaint that's going to be filed tomorrow, Christmas Eve, in the Hauppauge, Eastern District of the United States, District Court. But Franklin has it. He's taking it down to the clerk's office, and they're stapling 4 big copies. I've asked the pro se clerk in Uniondale to get back to me, but I never heard from him since I left the message. So that complaint is going to be filed tomorrow. pro se, in forma pauperis, at Hauppauge, United States District Court, Eastern District of New York. And that complaint is Glendora versus Glendora shareholder versus Glendora shareholder plaintiff versus the Board of Directors of Cablevision System Corporation. Its chairman, Charles F. Dolan, and its CEO, James L. Dolan, and its officers and management defendants. And as I say, this is for violating the New York State Business Corporation law. The reason it's in federal court is that there's a diversity of citizenship. Cablevision is a Delaware corporation. Glendora is a resident of New York. Now, let's see if there's time to tell you this one. Well, I guess so. It's just very, very quick. About the, I've told you all the cheap things that Cablevision has done, Dolan, Tata, and Quinn. All of the, like not paying the $120 for the tape they ordered, not paying, not returning the subpoena checks, $370, taking away my victory costs in the Cofault Court in 1994. All the cheap things that Cablevision has done. Here's about the cheapest. Well, this appellate division appeal that I told you about that I don't want to do. I couldn't do it because it would be $50 for the notice of appeal, and I don't have that. And so this cheap Callaghy, who owes me $120, opposed my applying for poor person relief in the New York State Supreme Court. That's how cheap he is. And then he got Weiss, who works for the county attorney of Westchester, to oppose it too. And that hearing was had Friday, December the 20th, at the Crooked Appellate Division, 45 Monroe Place in Brooklyn. And so I oppose it, and I read you many of the points of that. And now I had more to say when Weiss's came in, and that will have to be on the next program. That'll have to be on program number 2247, I believe, or 8. Folks, this notice is from Martin Breinstein, nice person, at the Appellate Division, 2nd Judicial Department, 45 Monroe Place, Brooklyn, and he says, we have received your application for the following relief, motion to waive filing fee and for poor person relief. The application will be placed on the motion calendar for December 20th, 1996. That was Friday. And he sent a copy of it to Satterley. Well, Chief Satterley, Callaghy, and Cablevision, Dolan, Tata, Quinn opposed my poor person relief. They are the ones who made me poor. And they're crooked enough to oppose it. And I'm trying to find the paper that I sent down to the Appellate Division to be heard on Friday. It's if they would hear it, you know how they are. Chief Robert Callaghy, Satterley, Stevens, Burke, and Burke opposition to it, and he is, he's really not their attorney anymore, or I don't think he's getting paid. He said that I had a bank account of $70,000. That was a long time ago. My part of that bank account has been spent, and spent long ago, and it was spent on the law-breaking, lying, and covering up of Cablevision, Dolan, Tata, and Quinn, and other cable operators, law-breaking. And when I say that my sole income is $497 a month Social Securities and $8 a year stock dividends, that is the truth. And then he tries to make a point. Now this is how dishonest he is. He tells the Appellate Division that Judge Bryant denied my informa pauperis, and that was a year ago. But he doesn't tell him that just recently, this year, Judge Bryant granted the informa pauperis. This is how crooked lawyers are. And then he tells him that Judge Fox denied it, but that doesn't make any difference at all because Judge Fox is only a magistrate judge, and when Judge Bryant overruled Judge Fox, that's it, folks. So everything he tells you, I'm telling the appellate division, is untimely. It is outdated. Glendora has been granted in forma pauperis 5 times in the United States District Court, Southern District of New York. Glendora has been granted in forma pauperis by the United States Court of Appeals, Second Circuit. Glendora has been granted in forma pauperis 9 times by the United States Supreme Court. Oh yeah, he says Glendora can afford an address in Long Island and an address in Westchester. Well, the address in Long Island is free to me. First, Cablevision breaks the law. Then Callagy is a liar for hire. They take our stockholders' money. Instead of giving us dividends, they spend it on a liar for hire, whose name is Robert M. Callagy, Satterley, Stevens, Burke, and Burt. And then after Cablevision, Dolan, Todd, and Quinn break the law, then they hire the liar for hire, and then they cover up about it for 3 years. And this is what makes me in forma pauperis. I had to sacrifice everything, and so many of us do. I spend my money on printing and on postage and on court fees and on rip-off court stenographers' fees, and it burned up all of the money in the bank account. So I have no bank account. So I am in forma pauperis. And Callagy goes through and this is the same stupid, lying, thievery letter that he wrote to Judge Bryant. And he sent over to the Supreme Court in Westchester and had no place to go because Silverman's off the case. And now he's sending the same letter to the appellate division. Finally, he found out where the letter goes. And that list that you just saw were all of my fights for rights, or at least some of them. And I'm very proud of these, and I'm very happy that he listed them for people to see. Corporations taking away your rights, courts taking away your rights, CBS taking away your rights, and so forth. Callagy does not declare under penalty of perjury. This court disbarred Dennis Callagy last year. Callagy has defied Judge Bryant's order 5 times to pay Glendora for the audio tape he ordered of Cablevision censoring Glendora's program on Veterans Day 1993. The 6th time Judge Bryant has ordered him to pay is also defied. The $120 is still not paid. Why is Callagy prejudiced that Glendora is granted poor relief? If I'm granted poor relief, how does it hurt Callagy? How is he harmed? He even robbed Glendora of her victory costs when she won Glendora versus Kofalt in July 1994, $1,000. I'm writing this to the appellate division. Callagy, Kofalt, Dolan, Quinn, Tata stole $350 trial subpoena money when the trial was stayed February 28, 1996. Instead of returning the money to us for the rule for 45 subpoenas, $70 per person times 5, they stole it. This is a company whose assets are reported to be, in the 3rd quarter report, which I was going to go over with you, $2.9 billion. Glendora opposes Callagy's opposition to Glendora Poor Person Relief. Reply affidavit. What were Callagy's exhibits? The same as to the Westchester Supreme Court and to the United States District Court, Southern District of New York, Charles L. Bryant last week. And all of the exhibits are the same. And then here is the county attorney of Marguerite R. Wise, should be ashamed of herself, but then she sold her soul. You see, Callagy or somebody got to the county attorney, and then the county attorney passed it on to this underling, Marguerite Wise, to oppose Glendora's poor person relief, and so Glendora opposes Weiss, and Glendora says it is costing us taxpayers more than the $50 fee. It's only a $50 fee, and they're giving that to me as poor person relief. It is costing the taxpayers more for this county attorney to take the time to write this opposition just for a $50 fee. What is her ulterior motive? Why do all these rich people gang up on a poor person, senior, citizen, female, pro se, who is pulling her strings? Name the persons. She says that the source of my information, the ground for my belief, are records kept by the Westchester County clerks, the Westchester County Department of Law, and conversations with persons having knowledge of the facts. She doesn't name the person. She doesn't produce the document. This is all hearsay. In fact, rules of evidence call hearsay within hearsay. Now, how's that grab you? This is a county attorney for Westchester. Glendora did everything that the law said. She filled out the form exactly as the form, and whatever the form asked, she filled out. And it says that the applicant's moving papers are wholly inadequate, and I say quo warranto. And she says I didn't give the information, but the information is on the RODI. Request for appellate division intervention, which is another ripoff for $250. Glendora also listed $8 a year stock dividends. Glendora filled out the application in full. The application said nothing about what she's complaining about. The applicant has submitted no papers whatsoever as to the nature of the underlying action. I said this is a lie. For the third time, it is on the RODI. It is in the county clerk. Bryant made her appeal. He wrongfully stayed her trial. Argument fails. She in court 9 times. Weiss's feeble opposition is defiant. And I said Glendora also listed $8 a year stock dividends, and she filled out the application exactly what the application said to do. And Weiss, for the county attorney, just says the applicant has submitted no papers whatsoever as to the nature of the underlying action. I said this is a lie. For the third time, it is on the RODI. And it is in the county clerk's file. Do your homework. You are wasting the county taxpayers' money. Indeed, he or she, knowing how she's... that's stupid. It's all taxpayers' money. Because Judge Bryant made her appeal, he wrongfully stayed her trial of Cablevision. Everything that Weiss writes about is conclusory. She presents no evidence. Her argument fails. She doesn't have her sources, written or personal. She doesn't name them. How is the county prejudiced by Glendora being declared poor person? Well, she is a poor person. But being declared, she can waive the $50 fee for filing the notice of appeal. Who is Weiss's Camarilla? Who's her secret advisor? Weiss does not deal with the evidence. Glendora has been granted poor person relief in form of paupers, a much better phrase, by the United States District Court, Southern District of New York 5 times, by the United States Court of Appeals, by the United States Supreme Court 9 times, by the Westchester Supreme Court, the very court that she's talking about. See Glendora's opposition to Callaghan's demented protest submitted today. Also to the appellate division, Weiss's feeble opposition is perfunctory. I want to know who put her up to it. Weiss has one exhibit. Glendora's received on November the 27th application for poor person relief. Weiss cost us county taxpayers money sending an 8.5 by 11 paper in a 9 by 17 envelope. She is profligate. Glendora filled out everything on the form she was required to fill out. Weiss's paper is frivolous, unnecessary, pointless, unsubstantiated, valueless, and a waste of county taxpayer money. It should be struck from the record. This will be read on TV, and it is to you. Why are they so mean-spirited? Did Weiss collude with Callagy? The Supreme Court has already granted Glendora IFP on April 1996, Westchester. I'm talking about the Supreme Court, Westchester. Original to Brownstein, copy to Weiss, copy to Bryant, Callagy, Glenn, and BRS. And here's the letter to Judge Bryant. Encloses a copy of Glendora's reply affidavit to the Appellate Division, 2nd Department on Glendora versus Coldfault, the action that you forced Glendora to take February 28, 1996, away, along with the appeal you forced Glendora to take with no good reason at all. You have been very mean and unfair to Glendora. I heard all about your meeting Brian Grafman last week at the New York County Bar Association dinner. Grafman is right. It's a federal question, and you never should have forced Glendora to go back to New York Supreme Court, Silverman and Coldfault. You are wrong that my appeal of your forcing me to appeal to the Appellate Division has no merit. What has no merit is your decision of February 28, 1996, robbing me of my trial, and your orders since then on the Silverman decision of October 2nd, 1996. You should recuse. Refuse to recuse. He's refused twice. You no longer are competent. Next, Glendora will file an Article 28 U.S. Code 373C grievance against you. The original to Bryant, copy to Callagy, Glenn, Appellate Division, and to BRS. And of course we include this. You need this, folks. Complaints about lawyers, 516-421-6390, Americans for Legal Reform. Complaints about judges, folks, that's a 914 number, Westchester. And the exchange is the same, 421. And the last four digits are easy, 1200. That's for complaints against judges. And of course I include my PIN, VOCC, Victim of Court Corruption, and the Americans for Legal Reform PIN that says, Stop the Lawyer Disease. What state are they? Liquid assets. Everything is going down the drain. Here's some jokes for you. I don't know if I told them to you before the videotape jammed and crinkled. But Joni got a job doing publicity for the bowling alley, and this was the slogan that she wanted to have made. Parents, get your kids off the streets. Get them into the alleys. And the great advantage that bowling has, folks, over golf is that in bowling you never lose the ball. And here's a sports question for you. Who was the last man to box? Joe Louis. Right, The Undertaker. Public Access Manager's Handbook. I know that Rick Einhorn wants to get it. You can get it through the public library in Huntington. That's a crackerjack library. The librarians are good. And it tells you how to run a non-profit public access organization and get it out of the grips of Cablevision. And I believe that completes the reports on the lying, law-breaking, and cover-up of Cablevision for 3 years. The editing is wonderful at Hicksville. We thank Cablevision for that. And we appreciate it greatly. It's a great place over there. I miss Tom Gardner. He's gone over to Extra Help, and he's gone over to Woodbury. And Diane Bennett is a great creation of God with that red hair and those blue eyes. She's a great head. But she's gone away for 2 weeks. I'm happy for her, but I miss her. The Huntington Library, great as it is closed for this week. It's an asbestos problem. I have an announcement here to read to you from Fred Craigie, or Craigie, however you want to pronounce it, K-R-A-G-E. He lives in Dix Hills, and I told him that I would read you one page. Statehood for Long Island. Statehood is our only hope. Long Island Citizen in Action. Mr. Patrick Henry, District Attorney, County of Suffolk, New York, December 7th, 1987. That's Pearl Harbor Day. The American taxpayers of Suffolk County are immediately entitled to the factual medical answers to the following questions regarding AIDS virus from Dr. David Harris of SCDOH, Dr. Charles S. Hirsch of SCME, and the Crime Laboratory. Can persons with AIDS that have hemorrhage, nasal, or throat passages, who cough or sneeze, create airborne virus? 2. Will this infect others through the naked eyes? 3. Open cuts or sores? 4. Inhaled into throat and lungs? 5. How long does the virus live in open air? 6A. In a wet state? 6B. In a dry state? 7. At what temperatures, hot or cold, does the virus die? How infectious are discarded tissues, condoms, Pampers, and feminine sanitary products from AIDS persons on streets, lots, lawns, garbage cans, and sanitation landfills? Would exposure to AIDS be greater in the summer or the winter for adults or for children? Long Island citizen in action, lawyer, judge, genocidor. Mayor Edward Clark, New York City, presides over the AIDS capital of the world. Many Nassau, Suffolk Americans travel daily to the big AIDS apple. Will they become AIDS infected by questions 1, 2, 3, and 4 on trains, buses, subways, walking on city streets, or at public gatherings? If these answers cannot be given by the above agencies, how can they be the determining professional experts of the lab reports and testimony for your successful prosecution of Richard Angelo or any other criminal? The Angelo case cost millions to put him in jail for 40 years instead of 5, but taxpayers' monies used for factual, honest, precise AIDS information now to Long Island Americans can save tens of thousands of lives constitutionally. That is government's local, state, and federal first and greatest responsibility. By Fred Krage, Krage. This is a publication. I want to tell you what is said here about Chris McDonald, who is an alumni of the Hofstra Law School. This is a Hofstra paper. I will read you some of this article. First, let me put the microphone where it belongs. Law school alumni fights New York State, contends constitutional rights were violated by the committee, a university, and this is written by Michael O'Connor, the news editor of Chronicle, part of the university community since 1935, Hofstra University, Hempstead, New York. A university law school alumnus has been entangled in nearly 2 years of legal red tape in his attempt to become a practicing law attorney in New York State. Christopher McDonald, who graduated from the University Law School in May of 1994, passed the New York State Bar exam in July of 1994, and then passed the multi-state professional responsibility exam in August of that same year. His application to the New York State Bar was made in March of 1995, and McDonald was subsequently denied acceptance to the bar. The law states that the Committee on Character and Fitness for the Supreme Court, who reviewed McDonald's application, has to give reasons in writing on why they denied the application. They denied me entrance to the bar without stating reasons, McDonald said. It is stated in law that the law applicant must be given the grounds on which they were denied. The mutual denial has led to years of entanglement in the New York State legal system. During this time, the committee which denied his application has never actually addressed his complaints directly, McDonald said. McDonald said he has taken his case to court 3 times in less than 2 years without any satisfactory decision. He said his attorney, who was unable to represent him at his latest court appearance, was in constant contact with the committee lawyers throughout the entire time. I sent a letter to the respondents stating, "I was willing to settle out of court," he said. No response was given. On October 2nd, the Court of Appeals in Uniondale dismissed the case without giving an opinion. The court stated that the case was not within their jurisdiction, and the only court that could hear McDonald's appeal is the Supreme Court of the United States. The likelihood of this being heard in the Supreme Court of the United States is very small. In fact, it is basically none. Well, I still think there's a chance. While details of the case have been obscured from him, what McDonald does know is that a formal complaint was sent to the Committee on Character and Fitness from Justice John Leone, Mr. or McLeone, however you pronounce it. McDonald discovered during the first court appearance that the judge had sent a 17-page letter recommending the denial of McDonald's application. By law, McDonald should not only be able to see the complaint, but also be allowed to cross-examine Leone about the letter. These rights have been denied McDonald. He said he feels his 14th Amendment rights have been violated because he has not received due process from the law. 14th Amendment is equal protection of the law. While Leone had the right to send the letter to the committee, the problem is I have the right to see the letter, McDonald said. I absolutely feel my constitutional rights have been violated. He said while he is not completely sure why Leone sent the letter, he does have some ideas McDonald leveled complaints against Leone before he applied to the bar, which resulted in an investigation of the justice. It is believed by myself that this justice, in a retaliatory attempt, had sent a correspondence to the committee against my character and fitness, McDonald said. McDonald will be representing himself in court on October the 25th to fight the court's arguments on jurisdiction in this case in a preliminary conference. I will seek relief of the court to the extent that the jurisdiction is within their power, he said. Members of the University Law School faculty have been consulted by McDonald, including former Professor Carl Mayer and Morris Friedman, who is well known as a scholar on law ethics. They have been able to offer some advice, he said. Despite the massive difficulties that he has encountered, Mr. McDonald said he has not been soured on the law. It's frustrating to have your first case be your own case, and it's become my own case in default of the financial means to hire an attorney, he said. I want to see justice done in this area as our justice system was meant to work. All attempts to contact Leone were unsuccessful. I'm going to show you his picture. Yesterday I met him at Americans for Legal Reform, or the day before. And I think you can read between the lines what's going on. Now I'm going to read you the editorial that the Chronicle wrote that I thought was very, very well written. University. A University Law School alumnus well versed in legal knowledge has been given the biggest lesson yet. Don't challenge authority. Ever since Christopher McDonald graduated from Hofstra Law School in 1994, he has been fighting just to practice the profession he surrendered 7 years of his life for. He has been denied admittance to the New York State Bar despite passing the bar exam on his first attempt. You see, McDonald made a fatal mistake. He filed a complaint against a judge while he was still a student at Hofstra. This complaint was followed up with an investigation into Judge Leone. So Leone did the natural thing. He retaliated. Leone sent a 7-page letter to the Committee on Character and Fitness delineating the reasons why McDonald's application for the New York Bar should not be approved. As most attorneys are capable, Leone probably made strong arguments based on ethical and moral grounds. But did he put a disclaimer in his letter such as, "Writer is a bitter man displaying infantile behavior because he was embarrassed by complaints levied against him"? Doubtful. The real problem, though, is the public shouldn't be left wondering about the letter contains. As a matter of fact, the letter needs to be made available to McDonald, so why wasn't it made available in public? And why is McDonald stuck in an unstoppable merry-go-round with the United States court system? McDonald's third appeal attempt resulted in the Court of Appeals refusing to make a decision, but insisted instead he needed to take his case to the U.S. Supreme Court. The High Court is designed to mainly hear cases in which precedents can be made from their decisions, or they are interested on tackling important issues, and is not going to find room on its docket to hear a case against a law student fighting one of its own. And that's true, folks. I've taken about 10 cases to the United States Supreme Court. And that is what it really comes down to, the old boys network. Images of cigar smoking, cigar-filled studies, and WASPs discussing important societal issues come to mind. The "I'll scratch your back if you scratch mine" routine is probably quite effective within judges' chambers. This is completely unacceptable behavior from those who are passing judgment on others' behavior. A thorough investigation needs to be made into the New York State Bar Association's ethics. Amen. No question about it. Christopher McDonald, and that is just what has happened, and that's what I'm experiencing. I won't take the guff of these judges. I won't take their dishonesty. I won't take their violation of the statutes of the United States litigated by, by Congress. I will not take, legislated by Congress. I will not take the violations of our constitutional rights. I will not take their crookedness and their dishonesty. And I stand up and I fight for America. And when you do that, every judge in the world is going to be against you. And every case you have is going to be dismissed. And every ruling is going to be against you. So I think it's terrible what they've done to Chris McDonald. And I admire Chris McDonald for standing up for him. He's probably right about Judge Leon. And Chris said that they asked the people at the hearing, was any letter written against Chris? And they said no. Yet, when they saw the files themselves, they found the letter. And another wheeze in a crooked thing they pull is, no, you can't see the file until it's redacted. But even in redacted form, Chris found the letter. So you see, it's as they say, it's an old boys network. It's as crooked can be. This is my computer disk for the Chiron computer at 111 New South Road, Cablevision. And it has my graphics on it. I'm trying to battle with the Chiron and make it work and make it come up with the graphics. And if you've seen a lot of glitches in my program lately, remember, it's because I am not used to that editing. And I have to do it all by myself, and I have to figure out things all by myself alone. And you might see glitches, you might see it go to snow. So just bear with it until we win the fight with the editing at Hicksville, for which I'm very grateful. Everybody. Benjamin says, the mind is a wonderful thing. His wife said, yes, everybody should have one. And you heard about Tony? Tony got 30 days so often, they're thinking of naming a month after him. And Dorothy says the boss is a born executive. And the other secretary says, no question about it, his father owns a company. I knew that I disconnected my cable TV, right? I'm not going to take any more from those people. I want you to be very careful to read your subscriber privacy notice. You have lots of rights given to you by the Congress of the United States about the information that a cable company has on you. So you be very, very careful of it. And it's interesting here to know that, as described above, the Cable Act establishes your rights as a customer and the limits upon the cable operator with respect to the collection and disclosure of customer information. You have the right to inspect our records that contain information about you and to correct any error in our information. The Cable Act requires us to inform you concerning the period during which we will retain information. There can be disclosure by court action. Also, it says here that you have a private right to enforce the cable law. You have a private right to enforce it. It says so in the cable law, and it says so in this paper. So read this very, very carefully. And of course, it makes a good cable TV contract. Words too big to understand and printing too small to read. So be sure that you read this. It says here, there are few values better today than cable television. Every day cable brings you in hundreds of programs which, offer some of the finest in entertainment. I would say some of the worst in entertainment. I told you the Huntington Library is closed this week because of asbestos. A new year is coming upon us, folks, right here in 1997. This is the picture, I believe, that Newsday took of Glendora when they did the article. They sent a photographer and took this picture. I said to the president and members of the Women's League of our church, Glendora, request you consider alternative menus that do not agonize, terrorize, brutalize, and murder innocent animals. Thou shalt not kill. Here's a recipe that is much more healthy, much tastier, much less expensive, and easier to prepare. And the last church dinner they did have vegetarian food, and it was delicious. And, everybody ate it in great amounts. Here is a rabies vaccination certificate. Now, folks, I think that that's all a scam. I've never seen a cat in my life with rabies. Never. And my life is 68 years old, and I've had many, many, many cats. 20, 30, 40. Rescued them. And so I think it's a money-making thing by veterinarians. I think it's greed. And I don't think that we should be pushed into it. And then there's also a question that all of these vaccinations, things are no better. They might even be worse. And I don't like putting the animal through the pain anyhow. I have an announcement here for you from the Center for Judicial Accountability. The bar associations refuse to furnish data substantiating their ratings of judicial candidates. In other words, the bar association comes along and gives a rating to a judicial candidate because they're going to get it back in a decision or an order down the line. Recent requests to the Westchester Bar Association and Westchester Women's Bar Association for data on the 4 judicial candidates in the race for 2 state Supreme Court posts in the 9th Judicial District of New York, Judge J. Emmett Murphy, Judge John R. LaCarver, and Judge W. Dennis Donovan, rated by the associations as well qualified, and practitioner Michael Burnmell, rated as qualified, have been disregarded according to the Center for Judicial Accountability, Incorporated. Center for Judicial Accountability, 914-421-1200. If you have a complaint about a judge. I have a typewriter, folks. Would you buy it from me, please? It's $133. And I don't use that typewriter. It's brand new, and it's in the box, and it's in the housing and everything. So if you know anybody who wants to buy my typewriter, let me know, please. We need the money to buy a new copying machine, which is broken down. I have some pages to show you. I've asked the dean of the Toro Law School to call, or Franklin has asked him. Asked him twice, he never has, so he's just like any other lawyer, dehumanized. But there were some things to show you. Here's a picture. This is from their catalog. Here's a picture of a professor and a student in a law library. And this is computer online library research. I'm just about through reading this. This is about students and student life. Dormitory accommodations, area housing, because this is right where I live, you know. This is right where my address is, 1395 New York Avenue. These people are working on the Toro Law Review. Student community involvement. That's my community. That, of course, I would think would be Cold Spring Harbor. We take care of disadvantaged students. There's a great picture, right? It says it's only 30 miles from there. Other pictures. Here's Judith Kay, the Chief Judge of the State of New York, who replaced Saul Wackler, the Chief Judge of the State of New York, who went to prison. Don't we have a wonderful court system in the state of New York? Wowee. But this is Judge Kay at the law library. This woman is, it says here, well, keep her picture in mind and then I'll read what it says. And then here are the faculty. There's a professor. Now, doesn't he look like a professor? And J. Kirkland Grant, I'm going to read you something that he says. Here's more faculty. Just about through this book. This may be the last time I'm showing you anything from it. And this is Eileen Kaufman. I'll read you what she says, one paragraph of it. More faculty. This is the Toro Law Center in Huntington, New York. Honorable George C. Pratt. More faculty. And a class profile. And here's a beautiful picture. The rest of it is about the law school admission test. And here's a pretty picture. Here's a graduate right here who started late in life to be a lawyer. And I think this is the end. The Board of Trustees. Is that spelled B-O-R-E-D? And the Toro Law Center Board of Visitors. And the application, and that ends the book. Just let me read you a few statements, as I said I would to you. Toro Law Center, Huntington, New York. You heard about the professor who was asked, what was the name of your mother before she was married? And he said, I had no mother before she was married. Nina Santucci Posgar prosecutes some of the toughest criminals in Suffolk County, New York. She is described by her colleagues as a charismatic individual who is highly respected for her thorough pretrial preparation and expert litigation skills. She first started working in the Rackets Bureau of the Suffolk County District Attorney's Office as a summer intern in 1984. That's the year the Cable Act was written. Following a second internship in the summer of 1985, she was offered a job as an assistant district attorney after her graduation from Toro Law Center in 1986. Now, J. Kirkland Grant says, people often speak of the law as a learned profession. Well, this is true, he says. What you will learn in law school, as well as throughout your legal career, will clearly distinguish you from others. But the law is not mysticism. Any relatively bright person can master the discipline. The difference between the journeyman lawyer and the professional is the ability to act in a wise manner. Wisdom and knowledge are the goals of a truly effective legal education. Eileen R. Kaufman, my interest in law stems from a belief that the law is an effective tool to accomplish social reform. Who needs the reform? The lawyers. The law is at its best when it serves as an engine powering social reform movements. Yeah, what society has to do is protect itself from lawyers. Beverly McQuarrie Smith. I believe that I teach my students by example. Throughout my career, I have striven for excellence. My expectations are the same for my students. I expect them to be dedicated, to be tough, to be able to analyze facts, and to develop superior writing and advocacy skills. Above all, I want them to have the ability to rely on an internal moral compass to point them in the right direction when faced with an ethical dilemma or problem. To me, these are the characteristics an individual needs to enjoy a successful career in law. It would be nice if it were true. I say the compass always points to the dollar sign. Honorable George C. Pratt, I began working in my father's law office at 16, and after that there was never any question in my mind as to which career path I would follow. Following in the footsteps of a succession of judges in his family, the Honorable George C. Pratt has achieved a highly esteemed reputation in the practice of law and as a member of the judiciary. Barbara E. Swartz. All of my life I have abhorred injustice and wanted to right the wrong around me. The belief that this belief led Barbara E. Swartz to attend New York University Law School, where she received her J.D. in 1971. The year I began law school there, there was more woman acceptance than ever before, partly because men were being drafted in increasing numbers for the Vietnam War. While at law school, I helped found one of the first women's law students associations. One of our initial endeavors was to persuade the school to do away with gender-based restrictions on the Root Tilden public interest fellowships, which had historically been closed to women. After law school, Professor Swartz was the first woman to be hired as a Reginald Heber Smith Poverty Law Fellow with Camden Legal Services in New Jersey. Class profile. Last year, the Law Center admitted 260 first-year students and 15 transfer students into the Juris Doctor program. 15 candidates for the Master of Laws degree in U.S. Legal Studies, and a small number of visiting students. The entering class comprises generally 40 to 45% women and 20 to 25% members of minority groups. The majority of students enroll in the first-time division. Average ages in the two divisions are consistent with recent trends. 26 for full-time students, 41 for part-time students. And Edward A. Moritz, Commander, U.S. Coast Guard Reserve, B.S. Regents College of the University of the State of New York. As a second career student in the full-time day division, I find that clearly one of Turo's strengths is the diversity and quality of its student body. Older, experienced students enhance the quality of legal education for all through the wealth of life experiences they bring to the classroom. It's very hard to read this shiny paper. And Wendy Pike says, one reason I chose to attend Toro Law Center was a strong administrative support system for students of color. All right. And Kathy M. Beck, BA, MBA, Hofstra University, MA, Seton Hall University. Toro Law Center's faculty, administration, as well as fellow students are more than willing to help a disabled colleague, giving you every opportunity to compete at the same level as your peers. So we are reading you excerpts from the Toro Law Center catalog, Huntington, New York. This is a letter from the CEO of Texaco to me, a shareholder, saying that the settlement was the honorable and right course to take in Roberts versus Texaco class action, filed in 1994. The settlement involves the payment of $115 million to the plaintiff class, a one-time salary increase which will not exceed $4 million to currently employed members of the plaintiff class, and the creation of a task force that will propose changes in the company's human resources programs and monitor progress. We are convinced that expeditiously settling the lawsuit moves the issues we face from the realm of confrontation in the courts into the arena of active cooperation and joint action. So they settled, and they're justifying it. Rakoff and Fox, you ought to read this. To achieve a workplace characterized by fairness, tolerance, and mutual respect for all men and women, where any individual can contribute his or her unique skills and experience and maximize value for all stakeholders. When the events about employee misconduct were first reported, I immediately apologized to the American public and to people around the world. Can you ever find Dolan doing that, or Malone doing that, or Hofstadter doing that, or McCormick doing that? That was about the racial discrimination in Texaco. News notes. Cablevision of Newark took home the prestigious 1996 Hometown Video Festival Award. Cablevision of Connecticut, Norwalk, and Bridgeport has earned the National Cable Television Association Seal of Customer Service. The National Cable Television Associated awarded the Bangor, Maine system its Seal of Customer Service Excellent. I used to be program manager at the Bangor, Maine cable TV. It wasn't owned by Cablevision then. It was owned by Maine Cable Television, Murray Briggs, and then they sold it to Adams Russell, the same people who had the Lindbrook system, and then all Adams Russell was bought up by Cablevision. Okay, that's news notes from Cablevision. It's a news and views supplement for September 25th, 1990. Excuse me, November 25th, a month ago. Tomorrow, day after, is Christmas, and it's our 42nd wedding anniversary. We were married on Christmas Day in the year 1954 in Wellesley Hills, Massachusetts, a very wealthy suburb of Boston. Here's the third quarter report of Cablevision, and they state, I don't remember getting a second quarter report from them, and they state that their assets are $2.9 billion. And they talk about recent developments, and I don't know how much of this you want to hear. They talk about their cash flow. They don't tell about their litigation expenses, which is a bad thing, because instead of paying for crooked lawyers and a liar for hire, they should pay dividends to the stockholders. Their revenues, apparently 9 months ended September 30th of this year, 96. Their revenues were $955 million. And as I say, their assets are $2.9 billion. That's better than they were. I read that to you before as $2.5 billion. But they're still a small cable company. Net cash provided by operating activities is $169 million. And they stole our $350. Cash and cash equivalents at the end of the period, that would be September 30th, the third quarter, $26 million. On October 15, 1996, Rainbow Programming made a payment of $81,250 to ITT, increasing its partnership interest in Madison Square Garden from approximately 15% to 26%. On September 9, 1996, ITT Corporation exercised an option granted pursuant to a letter agreement dated February 4, 1996, to acquire a 50% general partnership interest in Sports Channel, New York. On August 13, 1996, the company acquired the partnership interest in U.S. Cable that it did not already own for approximately $4,000. It should be $4 million. Now they tell me it's in thousands. It should be $4 million. Everything that I read to you, add 000. And there goes my Cross River Cable TV has gone to Cablevision. On September 27, 1996, the company acquired from Warburg Pincus Investa LP Warburg the equity interest for that Warburg owned in Cablevision of Newark. During the second quarter of 1996, the company wrote off $24 million of deferred interest and financing costs. During the third quarter of 1996, the company wrote off $10 million of deferred financing costs. Okay, Rainbow Programming has the right to require ITT to purchase all of Rainbow Programming's interest in Madison Square Garden for an amount equal to the price paid by Rainbow Programming for such interest, plus certain interest payments made by Rainbow Programming. Figure that one out. Okay, and then we got North Coast, and then we've got Laurel Space and Communications. Is that all you want to know? I think so. This is not signed by Barry J. O'Leary, Senior Vice President of Finance and Treasurer. It is not signed by William J. Bell, Principal Financial Officer of Cablevision Systems. It is not signed by Andrew B. Rosengard as Senior Vice President and Controller and Chief Accounting Officer of Cablevision Systems Corporation, and that's a new kid on the block. And they don't give any litigation expenses. How much of the shareholders' money has gone into litigation? Folks, I must show you the new book put out by Michael Zamuda, Z-M-U-D-A, How to Run the Chiron VP2. They did a great job. And it was my drawing attention to the fact that the instructions I had were for the VP, were for the Chiron down in Lynbrook, and they weren't for the Chiron in Hicksville. And so Michael got right away onto the job, and he wrote a new book, and he revised the conflicts in the old book. Getting down to business, using the VP2, powering up the VP2, or you turn me on. How to format a disk. Quote, only do this once, or you'll be sorry. Creating a page, using your TV as a memo pad. Setting your character attributes. You look really good in red. Changing the predefined colors, or painting by number. Setting the background color and transparency, or are we clear on that, Crystal? Repositioning text on the screen, or move it or lose it. Copying a character attribute from an on-screen character, or cut and paste has never been this much this easy, excuse me. General editing. Insert a deletable joke here. miscellaneous, or why did the chicken cross the road, saving a file, or save me, the auto display, or you have the pages, now arrange them into chapters, file name to display, or let's call him Harold, Q, wait for me to tell you when to go, delay, what's taking you so long, repetitions, play it again, Sam, adding a step page, I don't feel like coming up with a witty quote for this one, saving your auto display, save the whales, not the auto displays. So I've just started reading that, and I think I'm getting a little more adept at Chiron, and I'm sorry for all the mistakes in the program as I learn this, because I have to do the editing all by myself, and the equipment is new to me, and so I have to wing it. So you'll see a lot of mistakes, so just bear with them until this thing irons out. This is a offer by John C. Malone. Would you like to see his signature? John C. Malone is in trouble, and I'm happy to report that. It couldn't happen to a nicer person who murdered public access and who murdered public access TV production. This is, they're making a new stock, a new company, and they're selling stock on the stock market under the name of, just a second, TSAT, Television Satellite A, and TSAT B, Television Satellite B. And so this is a new offering, and it's been sent to all of us shareholders. And it's connected with PrimeStar, so whenever you take satellite, make sure you do not take PrimeStar, because that's owned by TCI, a bunch of crooks. And so I started reading this, and I don't know if there's anything here that you want to hear or not. As a distributor of PrimeStar, the PrimeStar Partners, LP PrimeStar Partners, Programming Service PrimeStar, and Malone says, and then Gary Howard is the President and Chief Executive Officer of TCI Satellite Entertainment Incorporated. Announcements that have been backed up here for weeks. I have to tell you about Continental. Nothing's happening on Continental. Judge Smith hasn't made her decision. She's had it since July, whether to grant the crooked defendants a motion for summary judgment. There are many reasons why such a motion cannot be granted. She hasn't answered my letter about the conflict that she is the magistrate designated on Glendora versus Magnus and not Judge Fox. And so that's just some more stuff that goes on in the court. You know, you hear about white-collar crime. It's the black robe crime that you got to keep your eye on. Officer James Stead, I made an order to show cause, and it was served on Stead and on the Corporation Council, City of White Plains. And that order to show cause is to stay all action in the White Plains City Court pending my appeal of the dumb appellate term to the New York State Court of Appeals. And so that's in the process. The order to show cause has been signed, it's been served, the opposition has been presented, and my reply affidavit to that opposition has been presented. And I can't read you that because Franklin has that because he's out serving it. And that's where this case stands with a police officer named James Stead who lied and said that Glendora went through a red light when she didn't go through a red light. So where do you go when the police break the law? And who's going to police the police, as Rit Goldstein keeps saying? Who is going to police the police? Henry, I can't give you 2 hours for lunch. If I were to do that for you, I'd have to do that for every man whose wife just gave birth to quintuplets. And work is really important, folks, because if it weren't for work, where would you rest up from your vacation? Like the Board of Elections. And Peter said, my former business had nothing to do with football, but it ended up in the hands of a receiver. We're reporting to you on the law-breaking of John Malone and Telecommunications Incorporated. The company is sliding downhill. It couldn't happen to a nicer person. The giant cable TV company is having a hard time coming back. It is sad that they're laying off 2,500 people, but there are much better companies to work for. We got the same old story from the United States Court of Appeals Second Circuit about my grievance against Judge Fox. They gave me the same answer that they've given everybody else in 1995 and 1996 so far. John Newman, the chief judge, has given the same answer. He always rules in favor of the judge and against the complainant. So I am asking for a review of his decision before the Judicial Council. And so I hand in my reasons for review and my reasons for complaining against Mark D. Fox. And it's 10 pages handwritten. And I get a letter back from them, oh, this is not brief, it's 10 pages. Well, naturally, handwritten is going to be 10 pages. And so Franklin is kind enough to type it over for me. And that's where that stands. He's on a schedule and a hope of typing 2 pages a day, and we have until January 3rd to get it in. And you don't know all the trouble folks they give you in the beginning to find out what the rules are to complain about a judge. What a crooked system. You've heard of white-collar crime? Welcome to black robe crime. Black robe crime. We have here that TCI wants to make a motion to dismiss my action against Glendora versus Bob Magnus because TCI closed down our TV editing facilities, so we have no place to edit our programs, therefore we have no way to make a cassette, therefore we have nothing to hand into TCI to cablecast, therefore our freedom of speech has been violated. And I want to make a motion for summary judgment, and I handed that in Friday when it was due. And now here is their 2-page letter brief to Judge Fox, their reasons for giving a motion for dismiss. And here's my opposition. Joshua N. Koenig gives no proof that he is representing billionaire John C. Malone, nor Telecommunications Incorporated, nor the rest of Glendora's defendants. Nor does Bertram Perkel give such proof after having been asked if they do represent them for limited purposes only for proof as of when. If they do represent them, it is easy enough to give proof. Since they do not represent, they are in default and owe plaintiff $600 million. This is plaintiff's opposition to December 20th letter brief to dismiss her case. Koenig letter brief gives no substantiation, factual nor legal, that Glendora has no claim upon which relief can be granted. Entirely ignored is the material part of Glendora's grievance and charge. Defendants robbed her of her public access TV production facilities. She cannot edit her program 8mm to 3/4 inch with graphics and music. She therefore has no 3/4 inch videotape to hand the cable company to cablecast, and 3/4 inch is the only format this backward cable company can cablecast. Hence she is not on TV, hence her free speech is abridged. Its free speech is murdered. This letter of Koenig fails to deal with the gravamen of the case and with the claim upon which relief can be granted. This decision was made by Bob Magnus and John Malone and the board of directors. It was made by them for all over the nation. Glendora has provided this court with proof of same, the cutback in Denver and in Vail, the command of Bear Stearns for Malone to explain why our stock dropped from $18 a share to $11 a share. The announcement by Malone, he was cutting back executive salaries and eliminating company aircraft and laying off 2,500 people. This is all in the record Glendora has provided this court. Glendora sued Wadman and Sirkin at the local Westchester TCI. They are not an indispensable party, and failure to name an indispensable party, Rules 19, 20, and 21 of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure is hardly grounds for dismissal unless there's a fix. Misjoinder, even if it exists, is hardly grounds to dismiss a case. Not one thing Koenig, who has run away from proving he is representing Glendora's defendants, states deals with the merits, and the United States District Court is under statutory mandate to adjudicate civil cases on the merits, codified as 28 U.S. Code Section 473A. Defendants have not provided an adequate Rule 9 statement, and it should have been provided up front the first day, as did Time Warner. Glendora has a private right of action adjudicated by the Second Circuit January 11, 1995, and adjudicated by Judge Bryant July 19, 1995. To say she doesn't is a lie to her, Judge Bryant, and Judges Van Grafelen, Minor, and McLaughlin. It is a lie to say directors of Telecommunications Incorporated had no responsibility for any matter in the dispute. We all know, as shareholders, they do, and they better have, because they are getting our dividend money plus $3,000 per board meeting plus $500 per telephone conference. If they have no responsibility, we shareholders, we should get rid of them. All defendants are liable under 47 United States Code 531. No cable operator shall exercise editorial control over public usage channel. They took away my facilities to make videotapes and murdered my free speech. That is editorial control. Glendora's case cannot be dismissed. There is an action under color of state. Public access is an exclusively governmental function, as admitted herein, under any franchise of obligation. All the franchises said the cable system had to provide TV production facilities. Some of them currently under temporary operating authority have to abide to the terms of the old franchises. This was supposed to be a 2-page letter brief. Glendora gets 3 pages because of being handwritten, double-space, and Koenig has single-space, disjointed footnotes. Finally, Glendora's case cannot be dismissed for the following reason, given by the Second Circuit, United States Court of Appeals. That reason right down there, can you see it, folks? Unless it appears beyond doubt that the plaintiff can prove no set of facts in support of her claim, which would what? What's that word? Something her to relief. Entitle her to relief. Koenig does not deal with this. United States District Court is under congressional mandate to deal with cases on their merits. Koenig does not deal with the merits. Defendants have no merits. Meritorious defense and never will have. Glendora, chat with Glendora, yours in truth. That isn't due until Friday, December 27th. I've already found another letter brief that I'm going to send with it, which says that the Cable Act of 1984 says that a person has a private right of action and can take a cable company to court and enforce the law. The problem is to find a judge who enforces the law. This crooked Bertram Perkle, Baker and Botts, is trying to get Judge Jones to rule against Glendora on her other motions and to take them as moot. It's all railroading. The 200-page motion for relief from order has been sent to Judge Jones, I believe, this morning, and submitted to the court, and have served on the who they don't have any lawyers, and that's 220 pages, and it's all about, you've heard of white collar crime. Well, this is black robe crime. Black robe crime. White collar crime, black robe crime. And she has violated the statutes of the United States, the Constitution of the United States. It's my feeling that the decision that she said she wrote was really written by William C. Connor, and that it was Connor who had his finger in the pie to tell TCI to turn off the audio when Glendora was reporting on what Connor did, and when Glendora was playing the audio tape of Connor, Judge Connor's telephone conversation with Glendora. And that's under color of state. So it's a bunch of crooked lawyers and corrupt judges. And as far as moving for summary judgment, I have read that to you before the court told me to submit a 2-page letter. Well, they have no defense, and they never will have a defense. And there's no dispute of facts, so it could be a summary judgment. In my favor, of course, and that's for $600 million. I don't know how many hours I spent on the law-breaking, lying, and covering up of one John Malone. The last count I had goes back to the 9th week of the 9th day of December. I would say round it off this way, $5,000 in print and postage and rip off court stenographer fees. 2,000 hours. And at $250 an hour, which is what these crooked monopoly antitrust lawyers soak the public for, that would be $500,000 worth of legal labor they've made us do. 1 year, 1 month of emotional disturbance and interruption of life and career. There's something like 11,000 pages of bad record, traitorship to America, law-breaking, lying, and covering up. About 122 chapters on television reporting their betrayal to America. But we've got the defeat of Ben Wiles. That crooked lawyer is out. He's been fired. Good. Now if we could get a few judges fired. The old boys club. The crooked old boys club, all self-interest. The judge never makes a decision on what is best for the country, or what is best for the innocent, or what is best for the injured. Judges always make decisions on what is best for judges, the self-interest. I'm trying to look around and think of something else that's going on. But to see, I'm handicapped because all of the papers had to be in this morning, and they're out of here, so I can't read them to you. TCI takes television into yesterday. Turned from doing all the serving and submitting those legal papers. Would you bring them over and show the folks the box full of legal papers? The whole box. So here it is, folks. So how did things go? Did it really? And did the, you didn't finish? And here's the in-mail, this is the in-mail? And the in-mail is a whole bunch more of crooked lawyers and corrupt judges. So what did happen? Did the United States District Court fill in their missing files? That's another problem we have. The pro se clerk doesn't file things. They don't get into the file. They don't get into the record because they say black robe crime. What else, Franklin?
Well, I got all the things in the mail and served the went to the bank.
Lincoln got lubed at 226,000 miles.
You're so ferocious. Yeah, you're so ferocious.
Still biting, folks. Still biting the hand that feeds him. But he's awful cute, black and shiny and soft.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is.
Can't you kiss? He has his moments. He kisses sometimes. And of course he bothers the other cats. To distraction, it's awful. Michael Gelman, well, I took Michael Gelman to the New York State Court of Appeals, and we haven't heard anything from that. They'll be forever, of course, and then they won't do anything. It's a useless court, New York State Court of Appeals. And Hubbard, with a $4,500 judgment that Elizabeth Hubbard and her greedy lawyer, Edmund Purvis, are trying to wring out of a person who is informer pauperis. We went to court on Monday because Colabella said he was going to, or at least Purvis made an application to sign it on Monday, the $4,500 judgment, which means nothing because the money isn't there, for attorney's fees. And all the things I read to you about that. Anyhow, Colabella was loafing. He wasn't even in the courthouse. He wasn't in his courtroom, he wasn't in his robing room, he wasn't in his chambers. He was just plain loafing. So nothing came of that. We got $9 from a lawyer named Galgano, who was representing the youth when they pled guilty to burglary, coming into our house and stealing toy money off of the wall. The Wall case, Walsh, Alpucci, and Larkin, has gone to the United States Supreme Court, and the other side has to submit a brief. The landlord, John Porzio, went into a temper fit and bordered on insanity, really, about the two cats in the cellar, or one cat, or whatever, and we're trying to get the cats out, and we've got Penny out, and we've got Penny spayed, as you well know. And her baby is left, and we're trying to get her baby, and her baby won't go into the cat trap so that we can catch the baby and help the baby, because I have a home for that baby. Anyway, he went off the deep end, and he used female abusive words. He got within 4 inches of my face with a lighted cigar, and then finally, 4 feet away, he spit in my face. So I brought charges against him to the district attorney, and I filled out my complaint on Friday, and we will see what happens to that. And then while I was handing in or Franklin was handing in the affidavit of service for James Stead, which is malicious prosecution about going through a red light, which didn't happen, we went to the records department to get that police report on John Porzio spitting in somebody's face. And Eric Fisher was there, and he says, "Glendora, bad news and good news, we towed your car." "Why?" "It was leaking gasoline." "Glendora, I don't believe it." Eric Fisher, "You think that I would stand here and lie to you?" I said, "I don't know about that, but I don't believe there's a gas leak in that car." And Eric Fisher says, "Well, we had to take it away. It was a hazard." He says, "There was gasoline in 3 parking spaces." I said, "I don't believe it." And I went downstairs in the library garage, and there was sand in 2 parking spaces, one of the places where the Lincoln had been. And then we went over to Rick, and then, and the worst thing of all is that they had towed the car out of the library garage and towed it to Hartsdale. Now, how crooked can you get? There are 6 towing companies in White Plains, so they towed it as far as they could, 5 miles to Hartsdale. So I went over and I asked Rick, my garage man, he's a tow company too, and he's a block away from the courthouses where I was parked. And I asked him to go over and pick up the car, tow it back to his place, and examine it for any gasoline leaks. Rick did that, and Rick charged me, the Crooks S&L in Hartsdale charged $60 for it. And then Rick charged $35 to bring it over to his place, so it was $95. And he went all over that car, and he put it in the lift, and he left it up there for 40 minutes. There's not one single gas leak or any other leak. A phantom gas leak, a bogus gas leak, malicious prosecution again by the White Plains Police. The authority to tow the car was signed by Lieutenant Evans of the White Plains Fire Department. You remember him? We summoned the White Plains Fire Department for toxic fumes coming from barbecue grills in the summertime. He came up, he did not do his job. He faked around, and I videotaped him and I showed it to you, his terrible record. So there you have retaliation on that. He signed the order, and probably to have it towed all the way to Hartsdale. So that's one great big lawsuit that's coming up. To the question that you've asked you before and before. Where do you go when the White Plains Police break the law? Where do you go when the White Plains Police break the law? I think over at Cablevision they'd make a change in management, but they can't figure out who's running the place now. And Steve said, I won't tell you how badly our company was doing, but at the last annual meeting they played taps. And Peter says, I walked into the place and I asked for change for a 20 and they made me a partner. That concludes the reports on the law-breaking cable companies for the week of December the 16th up to today, 2 days before Christmas, December the 23rd. Keep your courage flaming, and remember that all of these people have to stand judgment before God. It'll come to an end someday.
Hello, Glendora, Ray Jameson. Just calling to see if maybe I'll see you tomorrow over here at the Oak Beach Inn. I haven't talked to you in a while, so I did want to say hello. In case I don't see you tomorrow, I'm going to try and make it over there. I don't know if you will or not, but if you do, we'll say hello. Take care of yourself. God bless. Bye-bye. Message 2/6/17 p.m. Monday, January 2. Good morning. This is Rich Einhorn of Long Island. It's 9 a.m. on Saturday, December 21st, and we're just reminding you that there's going to be a party for the American Legal Reform at the Oak Beach Inn at 1 o'clock today, and that Brett and Rich are going to be there. Today is also our anniversary, and just wanted to say thanks for everything for the year. That should have been Thanksgiving, I guess. Message 3/7/51 p.m. Monday, January 2. Hi, it's Liz Driven. Hello to you both and happy holidays. Frank, I wanted to speak with you when convenient about a former reporter at the news. Could you give me a call at 212-580-0975? I'd really appreciate it. He was an intern this summer's the late message 4/7/56 p.m. Monday, January 2. Message 5/7/59 p.m. Monday, January 2. Hi, Glendora, Rob here calling you again. It's Saturday at about 11 a.m. And see you about that. Love to talk to you. Whatever's convenient for you. Love to have an update, so on, and also run by you this, I think his name is Rich Goldstein, whatever, and all those other good things that are message 6/8/45 p.m. Wednesday, January 4. This is Fred Strauss. It's last Monday at 11:30. It's the 23rd. We have to search for your connections here. They are not here. You need to bring connections with you if you're going to head as a step to them. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Fred.